Hey again, everybody. Todd Michael Putnam from D&D Creative Table Designs. We were trying to do some broadcasting the games so you could see them that way, but unfortunately my bandwidth just doesn't do a very good job, and so the quality of it and the cameras doesn't work out. So for the meantime, I might just switch back and we'll do this. This was session 4 of my Borderlands campaign that started just a little while ago, and this one here is the Goblin King's Grotto. And basically, what it boils down to is the players followed the goblins back to their main chieftain lair, if you will, through this little tunnel system. When they got to here, they heard some goblins speaking and some human being tortured. They took out these goblins, and my human's missing right now, and they killed the goblin that was torturing it, to find out that there were a lot more humans that were being used for slave labor, basically, further down the hallway. And to go search for somebody named Jacob, who is the leader, basically, of the human captives that the goblins are using for slave labor. So, and he points them down this direction. And then for scale, actually, this isn't that short. As I told the players at the table, I'm like, there's like an extra 50 or 60 feet down the hallway before you get to this area over here. This is where the slave mines are. Goblins, of course, being cruel taskmasters, so they've got a bunch of whips and stuff. And there's a number of humans that we've got that are mining away. When the players come in to try and rescue them, of course, some of the goblins are whipping them. But also climbing around on the ceiling are some goblins that have these chameleon-like lizard mounts, and that big long tongue of theirs, I totally homebrewed this, from the ceiling, it would shoot down and wrap up one of the players and drag them up, and it would do crushing damage to them. So they had to contend with a couple of those goblin mounts that were on the ceiling, take them out, rescued the prisoners, which they were able to do. And they found Jacob, who was the remaining leader, who said that the Goblin King isn't that far from here, but he's only seen it once, the moment that when they were first captured, he was brought up and told that by the Goblin King, basically that if anybody tries to escape, that 5 or 6 more of the other members will be tortured to death in retribution, so to keep your people in line. But that there's multiple ways to get there, and that the Goblin King lives on the highest tier of a big grotto, basically, of rickety wooden platforms built on top of these giant stalagmites. And long story short, there's multiple ways in. There's one way in here which can go across some rickety floating bridge, which is difficult terrain because it's got it's slick with slick with water and stuff. Plus, it's just floating on the surface, so it's real wonky. So they got to be careful about that. And then there's a way they could do a short swim over here to try from this little section. They could do a short swim and try and come up behind the goblin scout that's there. And then there's more walkways. Or if they follow along through this way, they can try and make a larger swim, but there's no goblins directly in their way. It's more out of the way to do it, but of course, it turns out there are nasty tentacle monsters in there. If they go for the long run, I had sturges that would have gone and flown up after them. And then there's, just because I'd never used them before, there was a dead goblin skeleton. Obviously, dead goblin skeleton, repeat. But a goblin skeleton there that when the players stopped to examine it, there were piercers that would drop from the ceiling and do some damage to the players. After that, they would have to fight their way up, climb up this thing here, and there was a big battle with the goblins on the top of this narrow bridge. Then there's another rickety ladder that they could climb up to, and there was a woman, it looked like, who was a prisoner that was there, that was chained down, and her tongue appeared to have been cut out. So the players freed her and just said to wait back here. Obviously, it looked like she'd been very badly abused, and so the players put her behind and vowed that they would bring her back after they had dealt with the Goblin King himself. She never said anything. Obviously, her tongue having been cut out, appeared to have been cut out. So the players would come back up to here, charging their way up, and the goblins met them right at the tip right here. So they basically did a hot gates thing from the last stand of the Spartans, and that way they could face them 2-on-2. But of course, the players using a couple of area effect attacks were able to blow through the 5 or 6 goblins that were up here. And then the players would go finally up to the top tier of it, where the Goblin King himself was, and he had a number of trained rats that did attack with pack tactics. And he also had a reach weapon that he was able to use, so he could stand 10 feet away, basically behind the rats, and take stabbing shots at the player. But the big surprise was when the players got up to here, the what appeared to be a woman wasn't actually a woman at all. It was the Goblin Shaman, who had a hat of disguise on him, who disguised himself to look like he was a captured human female. And he came in behind the players, and then he cast Sword Burst, which is a 0-level cantrip that does an AoE attack for everybody 5 feet around him. So he was casting that. But the players did manage to eventually kill them all and take them all down. And that was it. That's basically what this session was about. Most of this stuff here is Dwarven Forge. Of course, there's Dwarven Forge Caverns and Dwarven Forge insect tunnels. Those things are great. I love them. These guys here, these big tall stalactites that I use and stalagmites, are from EC3D Designs. Evan runs that, and what a great company. If you're looking for stuff, there's a lot of stuff on EC3D Designs. This was from their Skyless Realms Kickstarter, so I got a bunch of those. And then just on top of them, I found some dock platforms that from a German company called Zitterdes, excuse me, Ziterdes, Zitterdes. And I use those dock platforms on the top in order to create the big rickety platforms that the goblins were living on above the hot springs themselves. And that's basically about it. That's what it is. Then there was the huge mat, which the large battle map is just I think it's called the Graveyard Map from Noble Knight Designs. And then I don't remember what it's called, and I don't even remember where I got it from, except for I think from eBay. This in the center one here. This is like basically a 2x2 water mat, or 3x3 I think it is, water mat, shallow water, and that works perfectly basically for having any kind of swampy type areas or grottos or stuff like that. So I just threw that there. And these things right here are from Monster Fight Club. I'm not really sure, I can't remember what they're called, but if you go to monsterfightclub.com, they've got a number of these things, and I just set those across. They're like little bridge building things, and I just set those across in order to have multiple paths on the lower levels. That's basically it. That is the Goblin King's Grotto for this particular adventure. The players just got through it. Nobody died, but there was a couple of close calls, so that was great. And let me know in the comments what you think. Appreciate you checking it out. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next adventure. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.